Okay, I believe we are. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the GT Sport League. We're here for the Group B race at Tokyo Expressway East Inner Loop for round number 12. Here is your starting grid for today's race. Wolfie is on pole position, followed by Aston on the front row. Ted will join just behind him in third place, followed by the Scout Dan in fourth. Websons will start in fifth, followed by Andy in sixth, Kyler in seventh, Menix Sandals in 8th. Unfortunately, I'm on the replay feature because I missed the race yesterday, but nevertheless, we got some racing here today. 8 cars line up on the grid as we build the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go, and it's a slow and cautious start for those on the intermediates. I believe everyone is on the intermediate tyres. It's a brilliant start from Ted, and is already up into second place and is tucking in the slipstream of his teammate Scout Dan, pulling alongside Aston, but Ted is pulling alongside his teammate and championship rival, going down this long start-finish straight in the run down towards turn 1. Aston, Wolfie on the inside, Webson's on the inside, Menix Sandals on the inside. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers going into the tricky and technical turn 1? Wolfie struggling to slow it down. It's got a little bit deep. Can he hold it though? On the inside, Ted's going to try and work it round the outside, and with the traction, gets the move done up into the lead of the race. Wolfie will tuck into second for now, and Scout Dan rounding out the podium positions. Aston in fourth place, ahead of Webson's. Menix Sandals making his way up into sixth place from the back. Kyler dropping down to 7th, and ND in 8th place. But Ted though leads the way. Scout Dan goes a little bit wide, brushes the wall on the outside. It's Ted's Peugeot, not Porsche. Sorry, that is leading this way, and has his teammate closely behind him in the Alfa Romeo. Behind him is another Peugeot of the Scout Dan, Wolfie being in a Peugeot sandwich at the start of this race. Ted going from 3rd to 1st place. The dream start for him to keep his championship hopes alive, one of which Wolfie can win tonight if he outscores his teammate. Aston in a very solid position. Here goes ND looking for a move on Kyler Love. A little bit of ghosting, but he's going to go to the inside line, and he gets the move done. I don't think there is ghosting. That could just be the visuals on the replay camera. Yes, it looks like ND has got himself up into 7th place. Is he going to send one down the inside into the penultimate corner? He's gone a little bit too deep, and he's hit the wall, and he's got front bumper and suspension damage. No time penalty, fortunately, but the Japanese themed Nissan has got a time, some damage at the end of lap 1. Could be a Japanese themed livery for this track, located in Japan. Tokyo Expressway, around the East Inner Loop variation, about 4 miles, and this long straight alone is 1.2 of those miles. Hello to everyone who's currently watching. I am watching the Grand Prix at the same time, and appreciate you tuning in to the stream as well as watching the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, it's a centipede of 3 cars in the run down towards turn 1. Wolfie pulls out on the slipstream of Ted as Scout Dan tucks into the slipstream of Wolfie. Ted going from 1st to 3rd, halfway down the start-finish straight, but he's in a good position going into turn 1. Here goes to Scout Dan, who's now going wheel to wheel with Wolfie towards turn 1. He's not as late on the brakes as maybe a bit early on the brakes. Here goes Ted going to the inside, and actually gets the move done back up into the lead of the race. The Scout Dan slots in between the two, and that actually demotes Wolfie down to 3rd place. So the biggest gainer from that has actually been the Scout Dan. Alexander, someone's actually in the wall. That is Webson's, who's got now front bumper and front right suspension damage. Hugely unfortunate for him on the exit of turn 1. That promotes Kyler up into 5th place. Alexander is up into 6th. Webson's is actually now under pressure from ND, who both, ND actually staying out with his damage, might try and go a little bit further in this race to make the 2-stop strategy work. The cars have around 10-11 laps of fuel, and with 26 laps of the race, it is a guaranteed 2-stop unless you fuel save to make it a 1-stop, which Tim done beautifully in the Group A race a few days ago. Hello to everyone who is watching. We're on lap 2 of 26 early on. Ted has taken the lead away from his teammate down in 3rd place, who started this race on pole position in the Alfa Romeo. He's now putting the Scout Dan under a bit of pressure. Now going to go wheel to wheel through this high speed technical sector, completely flat out in both the dry and the wet. We are here in what is currently about 6:30, I believe it is, local time. Enough for the track conditions to be slightly damp and warranting the white striped intermediate tyres. Not green like they are in F1. The green tyres are the hard tyres, sorry. The white striped tyres are the intermediates. Ted though leading the way, not by much, about 8/10 separating him and the Scout Dan. The Peugeot, out of all the Group 3 cars on the grid, probably is one of the slowest on down the straights, as Wolfie is proving, getting ahead of Scout Dan. going across the start-finish line now to start lap 3 of 26. Scout Down though is going to be bump drafting Wolfie. No, he's not. He's actually going to pull up alongside in the run down towards turn 1. That's the thing about this straight, is you can overtake someone but then be re-overtaken by the time you get towards turn 1. Scout Down trying to cover the inside line, but Wolfie pokes his bumper in to not allow Dan to go defensive, and Wolfie's late on the brakes, almost ran into the back of his teammate. That allows the Scout Down to do the old switcheroo, get back up into second place. Who's got the better traction on the exit? It looks like the Scout Down has been able to get up into second place, and Wolfie will just have to settle for third place for now. All this squabbling will allow Aston to catch up to these top runners. Aston in the Group A Championship raced last season in the Group B, but has decided to have a go against the Group B runners. So they're currently running in 4th place as Webson comes in and out of the pits for a fresh set of intermediate tyres. Tyler Love's actually picked up some damage as well. I believe that might have been from turn 1. But I'm not too sure. It's on the left, so I'm not sure where he might have picked that up from. Could be this high-speed left-hander that the leaders are approaching now. Not this the fast right-hander. Might be that left-hander there. Really easy to go deep and hit the barrier on the left-hand side. Ted though going purple on through the 4th sector. It's the 3rd sector. Sorry, this track does have 5 sectors. I think the ghosting that you're seeing on screen is just the replay features glitching out a little bit. Ghosting is prohibited and is not on for the lobby settings. Ted running a little bit wide, a little bit loose on the rear. 2 Peugeots now fighting for the lead of the race, and has a very quick Alfa Romeo in hot pursuit behind. Ted 3/10 purple through the 4th sector. Not sure what the other guys are doing around him. We're not actually going to be able to see who sets the fastest lap of the race until the end, because it hasn't appeared on the bottom left-hand side of the screen underneath the leaderboard like it usually does. We are on the replay feature because I missed the race yesterday. Got stuck in so much traffic, as it looks like Ted. No, it's not. It's actually the Scout Dan who sets the fastest lap. It was 9/10 quicker on the last lap, pushing Ted in towards turn 1. Is he going to go for a move? Ted defends the inside line. That promotes the Scout down to pull over to the left-hand side. Can he get the job done? Round the outside, but switches back to the inside. The beautiful switchback move on the exit of turn 2. Who's got the better throttle application on the exit? Who can control the rear? Pretty much both even on the exit. If not, Ted has just got the upper hand and gets back up into the lead of the race. But this is good battling from the Scout down, which we've not often seen throughout the course of the season. Thought I saw someone flicker on the leaderboard there, but yeah, it's good to see Dan now fighting up with the likes of Ted and Wolfie, 2 drivers who have been battling for the Drivers' Championship, and last week won the Constructors. So, well, we've had 2 championships already been decided before this race. We've now got 2 more to go. We've got the Drivers in this championship and the Constructors in the Group A Championship. We'll just have to wait and see when and where and who is going to pick up the top step of the championship. The top spot of the championship for the race. Who's going to get the top spot on the podium? We'll just have to wait and see. Ted, though, doing a stunning job in the early phases of this race, keeping both the Scout Dan and his teammate behind. Have all got evenly amounts of fuel, but has had a really bad run through the final corner. Brushes the ball on the right hand side, getting a little bit of a twitch on the rear. That's only going to allow the Scout down. Good opportunity in the run down towards turn 1. Unfortunately, I'm not on the keyboard because we're on the replay feature, so change between cameras is a little bit more painful. But here we go. The Scout down is going to tuck into the slipstream, and he's going to be bump drafting his teammate along in the run down towards turn 1. Does not want to be re-overtaken by the time they get to the heavy braking zone of turn 1. Here goes Wolfie though. He's going to take the opportunity to go for a move on the Scout down, and with the extra run and the acceleration, the momentum he has, he's going to try and go for a move on his teammate as well. Scout down tucks in behind Wolfie, who goes later on the brakes. Ted's going to try it on the inside, cuts the corner a little bit. That could be a 5/10 penalty for riding over the curbs, which are really, inconsistent at this track and all the Tokyo Expressways, or at least the ones that have curbs. The centre, it's east and outer loop. The inner and outer loop from the central configurations. It's pretty much Monaco as a square. It doesn't have many curbs. This track though does have turn 1 similarly, with the turn 2 hairpin at the south inner loop. Aston has not really caught up to these front three as quickly as I'd have thought, despite their squabbles out in front. Ted has now dropped down to 3rd place after being overtaken by both the Scout Dan and Wolfie towards turn 1. Wolfie going from 3rd to 1st place, and really demonstrates how quickly things can change around this track with heavy braking zone after the end of a 1.2 mile long straight. Hits the wall on the left hand side, might leave him vulnerable to Dan's Porsche behind. Is he going to go for a move down the inside into the penultimate corner? Not quite close enough to pull that one off, but we'll just settle in behind for now. Use his 3rd gear through the final penultimate corner, probably to get a good exit on good traction on the exit of the corner. It was hard to tell if one or both drivers hit the wall there. I think that was just Dan hitting the wall on the outside. I'm just going to quickly check because I've got the stream up on my phone, which is slightly behind. But Dan though is going to tap into the back of the slipstream. I think it was just Dan who hit the wall on the right hand side. It's going to compromise his line, but it's not going to compromise his spirits in fighting for the lead of this race, because here he goes, he's pulling alongside the Alfa Romeo, Japanese versus Italian manufacturing. Which one's going to come out on top? It is the Peugeot is not Japanese, it is French. My sincere apologies, I'm too used to the Toyota for some odd reason. Into the braking zone we go for turn 1. Wolfie's gone a little bit a little bit later than Dan, who tries the switchback, a classic move from Dan he's pulling off in this race. Wolfie though is going to try and get good traction on exit, hasn't been able to do so, and has to tuck in behind. A beautiful move from Dan gets him up into the lead of the race. Looking down further, Kyler Love stays out with his damage. ND's gone deep, and that promotes Malik Sandils up into 6th place in his Martini-themed Mercedes. And the Japanese Nissan has to settle in for 7th place for now, and continues to plough on with the front damage. Hello to everyone who is taking the putting the F1 aside and is tuning in for this race here in Tokyo. But I believe the race is coming to an end pretty shortly. And let's just say, if you haven't been watching the Qatar Grand Prix, it has definitely been an entertaining one, I think. But on lap 6 out of 26, we're about to start the final. I was going to say the final lap for some odd reason. We're about to start the final time of being on lap 6, and we're about to start lap 7. Here goes Wolfie now. He's tucking in the slipstream of the Scout Dan. Is he going to make a move down the straight, or is he going to wait for turn 1? We'll just have to wait and see. He's going to pull over though to the left hand side of the track, right hand side of the screen, but it is enough to get him ahead of the Peugeot. But we'll be under pressure now, going in towards turn 1. Here we go then. Dan now with the slipstream pulls back alongside your championship leader in the run down towards turn 1, who's going to be latest on the brakes in towards the heavy braking zone, braking around the 150 metre board. Wolfie's going for it down the inside. He keeps it tight to the inside this time, not allowing Dan to do the switchback move, which he's made 2 or 3 times in this race. Now Wolfie's up into the leader of the race. Hello to everyone who is watching. And well, we're on lap 7 of 26 already. This race has had so many twists and turns, from the leader Dan staying with Wolfie early on in the race. Ted just dropping back slightly. Aston is gaining on these front runners a little bit. Kyler Love is falling behind the top 4. Unfortunately, we can't see the delta because we're on the replay cameras for this race. But it is Wolfie still leading the way, and as it stands, he will be winning this championship. We'll just have to wait and see. But this track, I think it provides some awesome overtaking. And it's one of my favourite Tokyo configurations. Wolfie's gone a little bit deep in towards the final corner. That could allow the Scout Dan to gain on these top guys. Here we go then down the start-finish straight. Apologies about the stream, I'm not sure what happened there. Apparently it stopped. Hang on, let me just double check to see if it's still working. Oh no, I believe we are still going. Here we go then, the Scout Dan attacking in the slipstream of your race championship leader. Getting a good view of the rear of the Alfa Romeo before pulling over to the left-hand side, which would be the outside for turn 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Can he pull it off around the outside? Wolfie's gone later. Dan's going to try the switchback again. Has to push Wolfie through the corner because Wolfie covers him off beautifully and positions his car, in all the right places. These guys battling for the lead is going to allow likes of Ted, Aston, maybe even Kyler Love to catch up to the leaders. But it is still Wolfie who leads the race. Ted in third place. And sorry, bear with me for just 1 second. I'm going to check if the stream is still working. I believe it's still working fine. It just went blue on my end, but it looks like it's back and running. Going through the penultimate corner on lap 8. And we're about to be starting lap number 9. Ted is caught up now to the back of the Scout Dan, and Wolfie, the gap though is still about 3 seconds, maybe even 4 seconds. I'm going to say 3 seconds of the gap between Ted and Aston, Ted and Dan, so maybe about 3.5 seconds, as Aston is gaining on the back of the Irish driver using the Toyota. Aston using the same Toyota with the same livery as he used in the Group A race. But it is still Wolfie who leads the way, as he is your championship leader now, going in towards turn 1, leading this race. The Scout Dan doing a good job in second place. Ted is in third, Aston in fourth, Kyler in fifth, ND in sixth, Alexander's in seventh, and Webson's in eighth. Those are your top 8 drivers, the 8 drivers in today's race. And I can now confirm that the F1 has finished. We are streaming this at the same time as the Formula 1, but that has finished. ND and Menix Sandils are into the pits. ND is in and out for a set of intermediates and fuel. Menix Sandils repairing, both drivers actually, repairing the damage that happened early on in the race. That leaves Kyler Love, the only car out on track, with a damaged car. The top 4 starting to close up to one another. As you can see there, Aston is just behind Ted now. I thought it was Menix Sandils. I thought the 3 was an 8 as they made their way through the third sector. Now starting the fourth. That was the third sector. Now starting the fourth sector, because that little dashed line that Wolfie is now approaching, that is the 5th sector at this track. It's about 2 minutes and 6 seconds in the wet. And in the dry, it's somewhere in the 1 minute 50 somethings, 1 minute 58 sevenths, I think. I'm not too sure, and I can't quite remember. All 4 of these drivers, though, in the top 4, are out of each other's slipstream, which means it's going to have to, they're going to have to find the time in the middle sector, the technical sector of the track, and actually the Scout Dan, Ted, both come into the pit. Aston stays out. His fuel light is on though, so has got an extra lap left in the tank, although still in the white, and will be able to carry on to maybe an extra lap and a half. But I would guess he would be reacting to his teammate and championship rivals, who are both coming into the pits for a fresh set of intermediates and an extra bit of fuel. That promotes Kyler Love in towards third place, and Aston up into second. The Scout Dan's come out of the pits actually ahead of Ted. No, sorry, my apologies. The Scout Dan has come out of the pits ahead of Ted, but Ted is a lot closer, having put in a little bit less fuel than the British driver in front. That could give him the opportunity he needs to go for a crucial move, as these guys now will be closing in on the top two. Have got more fuel, but will the fresher intermediates be the difference that they need? The Scout Dan and Ted have triggered the undercut. Medic Sandals and ND both pitting a lap earlier, and Medic Sandals not putting in a huge chunk of fuel. Might come back to haunt him later on in the race. We're halfway through lap 10, and the pit stops have been made. The top three, though, are yet to visit the box. I don't think Webson's has been in either. No, my apologies. I think he's pit on lap 2, assuming the 2 minutes 34 lap was a pit stop. I would imagine we'd see Wolfie and Aston and Kyler into the pits this lap, the top three who haven't pit yet in this race. It'd be interesting to see if anyone's going to try the one stop. You have to make it to lap 13. Doesn't look like anyone's going to make it to lap 13. Wolfie's pulling over to the left hand side of the track, which is where the pit entry is. Does bring his Alfa Romeo into the box, where his green suited mechanics will be visiting and attending his car. Aston also coming into the pits. This time his white suited mechanics. You can see the grooves on the tyres, suggesting that the white striped intermediate tyres will be fitted onto the car. The interesting thing about this game is that once you're on the wet tyres, or a wet tyre, you cannot change the compound. So if you select wets for the first stint, you are forced to stay on the wets. You can see Aston putting in the fuel, going up to 60, 70, 80, 90, and it's a full tank for Aston, it's a full tank for Wolfie. But where is the Scout Dan? He's going to have the momentum in the run down towards turn 1. You can see Wolfie is in the lead, but you can see the headlights of the Peugeot gaining and gaining and gaining down the straight in towards turn 1. What is the gap like? It looks like it's too big, but it has come down. The undercut has worked, and it is quite powerful in this game. Scout Dan is about 1.2 seconds behind Wolfie. You can see Ted also gaining on his teammates and championship rival. Webson's now up into 4th place after pitting earlier on. Has got the head of Aston, but I'd imagine both drivers still yet to pit. Webson's could be in a bit of danger with only 25% of fuel on lap 11. Needs to go to about lap 16. So 5 laps on 25% of fuel. Might have to do a bit of fuel saving if he's only wanting to make one more stop in this race. But the windscreen wiper is on for Dan, who wants to have a clear track in front of him, but does have, has to look out the back of a rear Alfa Romeo, who does make a mistake. Hits the wall on the inside. Ted and Dan, though, hitting the wall on the outside of the corner, riding in the third person cam and chase cam on back of Dan's Peugeot. Apologies for calling him Japanese early on. For some reason I was thinking Toyota, but has now that mistake cost Wolfie potentially leading this race on lap 12. Let's get back up to the cinematic cam, but that gap has now come down quite significantly. It's about 6, 7, 8 tenths. Ted also is in the mix of this battle as well. This track heavily reliant on downforce and straight line speed. You can see in the map in the top right, literally half the track is a straight. Well, to be precise, 25% of this track is a straight line. That straight line being from the final corner down towards turn 1. It's 1.2 miles long, and in a car that's that straight line speed, being the Peugeot in comparison to the Alfa Romeo, you'd think Wolfie has a good chance of maintaining this lead as they make their way in towards turn 1 for the 12th time this race. And as predicted, Wolfie does have that gap to maintain the lead. Ted, though, will be trying to close in on his teammate and the Scout Dan ahead. The top 3, Wolfie, Dan and Ted in this race. The same as it was in qualifying, except Dan has swapped places with Aston. And there was someone, is that Kyla Love? Don't know what happened there. There was definitely activity on the leaderboard. That might have been the leaderboards just having a freaky moment. But at the top 3, separated by about 2.5-3 seconds, Wolfie does have the fastest lap of the race, set on lap 4 with a 2 minutes 6.7 in this race. If it was to finish as it is now, he'll be taking home maximum points in this from this race, and will win the Drivers' Championship, meaning both championships will be wrapped up with 3 races to go. Next week's race being taken place at Belgium at the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps for the 3rd and final sprint race of the season. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the sprint race concept, it's a 25 minutes race. The grid for that is a reversed championship order, which makes things especially interesting, and the result from the sprint race determines the grid for the feature race, which is where all the points are up for grabs. It's about a 40-minute race, but it is set in laps, and for Spa, I believe it's 25, possibly for the feature race, 20 minutes set for the sprint. It's fair to say Ted is a lot closer to Dan than Dan is to the back of Wolfie's Alfa Romeo. Hello to everyone who has finished watching the F1 and is tuning in for more action here on GT Sports for a totally different style of racing. We've gone from the deserts of Qatar to the streets of Tokyo, where it's 2 very different places, 2 very different tracks, and 2 very different conditions. It is lightly raining. Riding in the cockpit of Wolfie's Alfa Romeo, you can see the raindrops hitting the windscreen, and the windscreen wiper clearing those raindrops. And the spray being kicked up by the tyres. Not the heaviest of track of wet weather running for this race, but still a damp and slippery track nevertheless. Let's have a look further down the grid, and what a way to do it, because that's Kyla Love deep in towards turn 1, so deep that the camera angle couldn't even see him going hitting the apex of turn 1, running deep, but was able to keep it facing a straight line and not in the barriers. The drivers actually fairly close to one another, despite what you can see on the mini-map. All 8 drivers, no one is significantly far away from someone else apart from the gap between Kyla and Aston. That is definitely the biggest gap on the track, but there are still close battles. ND about 3 seconds, maybe 2 seconds behind Kyla Love. Alexander's not too far behind either. Ted is not too far behind, and Scout Dan, if anything, is almost pushing him through the penultimate and final corner. Maybe these 2 might work together to close down the gap to Wolfie, to stop him winning another race here in this Group B Championship, one that has been very dominant, similarly with Dutchy in the Group A Series. Here goes Ted, though. He's in the slipstream. He's going to have the straight line speed advantage. The Scout Dan, puts his hazards on temporarily. They're now going to go wheel to wheel in the run down towards turn 1. Ted not holding anything back, pulling alongside the British driver, and they're now going to go wheel to wheel. Both cars evenly matched in a straight line speed. Webbs is into the pits. Scout Dan, though, decides to tap back into the slipstream to get an extra boost, an extra little bit of additional speed in towards turn 1. Where does he go? Ted kind of covers the middle of the track, not allowing Dan to the in or the outside, and gets his way up into 2nd place, and now he is in charge of leading the charge to his teammate Wolfie. 9:07 leading this race by about 1.5 seconds, as we're just past the halfway mark in this race. Websons comes out in 6th place, but not for much longer. Here comes a rapidly closing MD, who gets up into 6th place with the extra momentum. from the start-finish straight, and Ferguson's just coming out of the pits in 7th place. And I said he should target lap 15. He's gone to lap 14, and it could be quite close to see if that Alfa Romeo makes it to the end of the race. 12 laps. It's not impossible, but he might have to do a little bit of fuel saving. The front runners, well, you can see how little fuel Ted has. He's only got half a tank left compared to Wolfie and the Scout Dan, who've got a little bit more than the Irish driver running in 2nd place, but is going purple through the 4th sector. Third sector, sorry, my apologies, starting the 4th sector now. Hits the barrier on the right hand side, and that's definitely not going to help his attempt at A, fastest lap, and B, maintaining ahead of Dan, and C, closing down the gap to Wolfie. We'll have to see his sector split to see if he's still purple, but going too deep into the penultimate corner might have just cost him too much time. He is still purple, only by a tenth though. He's lost 7 tenths on that lap alone as the train passes overhead, and the driver's going now under the tunnel where the most grip is available. Obviously it's not raining in the tunnel. Does actually improve on his personal best by 3 tenths, but is 5 tenths off the fastest lap, which would have been awarded to Ted had he not hit the barrier, pushing a little bit too hard, it may seem. Going into turn 1 once again. Riding on board with Scout Dan, he has Ted and will be just in front of him, and is almost in the slipstream range. Might have lost a little bit of time to Ted actually through the first corner. I thought he was a little bit closer going in towards turn 1. But lap 15 of 26, we're almost 2/3 of the way through this race, round 12 and 15. The longest calendar we've had here in the GT Sport League. We've used to seeing 10, 12 track calendars. This season though, we have a full 15 tracks ranging from different continents across the globe. We started, where did we actually start? I can't remember where we started. We started in Italy. We started at Lago Maggiore before going off to the likes of Asia. We've been to America. We've been to, well, we're going to Oceania. Then we get to Mount Panorama for the penultimate race of the season, round 14. Mount Panorama being located in the hills of Australia. Here we go though, down the start finish straight once again for the 15th time. Hello Aston in the chat. Currently running in 4th place, but this is a replay. This isn't actually being raced live. This is only being streamed live because unfortunately I was stuck in what can only be described as Accident City. For those British viewers watching, the M25, that's enough. That's all I need to say. But here we go. The Scout down low is tucked in right behind of the back of Ted's Peugeot, going down the start finish straight in towards turn 1. He's going to bump draft in down the straights before pulling over to the left hand side of the screen, right hand side of the track, which is the inside line. Ted has gone deep. They've both gone deep in towards turn 1, both misjudging the braking point, and the Scout down though braking slightly earlier but still late. There's a little bit of contact between the two. Ted has to turn in because there's a barrier that sticks out turning left. There's a little bit of contact, but Dan gets the move down up into the lead, up into 2nd place, so not quite the lead of the race, but that could have ended in catastrophe for both drivers. Thankfully it didn't, but has ended up in Ted losing a position, now down in towards 3rd place. Kyler Love trying to make the most of a recovery drive after picking up damage early on in the race. Running in the Mazda RX Vision GT3, the same car that Asengrid is using in the Group A Championship. The one that was able to do the one-stop. The only driver, I believe, who made the one-stop strategy work. And spoiler alert, got a good result. I was going to say the result, but just in case you haven't watched it, definitely go check out the Group A race that took place on Friday. If you don't have Twitch Prime, it will be uploaded to YouTube fairly shortly, as will this race. The Scout Down, though, is in second place now, ahead of Ted as they're about to finish lap 26. Aston going through the penultimate corner now. We'll be hoping that these two slow each other up in their battles for the podium positions, in the hope that he can gain on the top two. Here goes Ted, though. He is gaining on the Scout down the 1.2 mile long start finish straight. He's tucking in behind. He's gaining, doing 177 miles per hour before going back down to about 170, bump drafting him down the straight. Doesn't want to pull out too early, otherwise the Scout down will just tuck into the slip ring and go back through, but Ted has timed this to perfection, who gets the move done around the outside of turn one. Is Dan going to be able to break later on the inside? Not quite. Ted has him covered. Can Dan, though, get the throttle on early, get the traction on exit? Ted, though, with the outside line, finding more grip, and actually goes purple through the first sector, gets up into second place. Maybe this lap will be the purple lap, currently owned by Wolfie 907 on lap 4. It was 2 minutes 6.7, I believe it was. Ted with a 2 minute 7.2 in his fastest lap attempt a few laps ago. Was thrown in the bin when he hit the wall. Hits the wall again, though, on the exit of turn 4 or 5, I believe, and has cost him about 2 or 3 tenths of a second. He's now down on his fastest lap so far. That's going to allow Dan to gain through this middle sector. Each corner links into each other. High, medium speed, left, right, S's. Dan actually brushes the wall quite heavily, picks up front left suspension and aero damage, and to add to that, a 1.5 second time penalty for a barrier collision. We've got barrier collisions on this season to, well, you know, I think it's pretty obvious why the barrier collision's on, to eliminate anyone who would like or attempts to wall ride. I was trying to think of a word, but that word hasn't found. I think I've just gone on pause, and I think my life has just stopped because I cannot speak. No words are coming to my brain, and well, it's just a bunch of slurs that are leaving my mouth. That's what the commentary is going to be like. And here goes Wolfing towards turn 1. That's just what it's been. It's been a long but quick season. The Scout Down is into the pits early to repair the damage, so a forced undercut, some may say. But well, with 10 laps to go, a full tank will make it to the end. We'll have to wait and see, though, how much he puts in. Wolfie, though, look like he cut the corner there at turn 1. Definitely getting close to the white line on the exit of the curve. Doesn't actually get a penalty. Ted struggling to put the throttle down, drifting his Peugeot on the exit of turn 1, and that promotes Aston now up into third place. And well, with 9 laps left to go, Aston with a full tank of fuel comes out fourth place ahead of Kyler Love, and into the pits. Webston's now up into 6th place, and well, Down's cleared the gap to Kyler Love behind to maintain 4th position. Websons is trying to close on the back of Kyler Love. Both ND and Alexandros are into the pits, currently running in 7th and 8th place. And it is Wolfie who is leading this race. ND's out of the pits in 7th place, almost a full tank of fuel on board. Should see him through to the end. What about Alexandros? I'm assuming it's going to be a full tank for him as well, and a fresh set of intermediate tyres. The thing is about this race and about the track conditions that I'm actually surprised no one, well, I didn't notice anyone do, was the tyre wear isn't too high in the wet weather. And well, the fuel is, of course, I've tested this track. I've tested every single track, forwards and backwards, in and outs, with different varieties of tyre and fuel consumption. I'm surprised no one decided to double stint on a set of intermediate tyres and save them 2, 3, maybe even 4 seconds in the pit stops, changing the tyres. Fairly interesting, because the track kind of gets quicker as the fuel goes down. Tyre wear isn't too much of a factor when it's this low. It is on times 5, but in the wet, it doesn't really contribute to that much grip loss. But Ted, though, into the pits, primarily because he's got no fuel, but also is reacting to the Scout Dan, who pitted a few laps to go. Did have damage to the front aero and suspension, which has kind of forced him into making that pit stop, but did have to put in less fuel. This could be close between Dan and Ted. Ted is out of the pits ahead of Dan, but Dan's going to have the momentum and the run from the final corner. It's a long straight. Where is Ted? He's only doing 120 compared to Dan doing 170. This could be closing towards turn 1. It's actually further away than I thought. I thought it'd be a lot closer in the run down towards turn 1, but it is Ted who's got a sizable gap to Dan and is now on the podium positions. But Aston and Wolfie are yet to pit. Aston, though, is likely to feed out behind the Scout Dan. Kyler Love is into pits and has actually double stinted the intermediate. So the first driver that I've personally noticed to double stint intermediates. Apologies for any driver who has attempted the double stint on inters that I didn't realise. But it is a bold and strategic move. Might be one that could secure 5th place for Kyler Love, maybe even 6th place if he can close in on the back of Webston's ND coming out just behind. Sorry, Kyler coming out just ahead of ND, who goes wide and deep in towards turn 1, almost brushing the curbs on the outside, and is doing really well to control that Nissan in these wet conditions. A car that defines oversteer and has limited, if not very low, rear end grip. It does have really good front turning though, which is a common theme in cars that have a good front end, is that they often don't have good rear end stability. Take the Ferrari and the Lamborghini for as two cars of example. Vice versa, cars with good rear end grip don't often have the front turning that they desire, often leads to understeer. Aston, though, stays out along with Wolfie 907, the two drivers running first and second, qualified first and second as it stands, and I think the grid is exactly how they qualified. But I think it is. I think the grid might actually be it's gone back to the exact qualifying grid positions from the start of the race, although drivers haven't pit though. Here goes Ted and Dan going wheel to wheel towards turn 1. Dan now gets up into 3rd place ahead of Ted, but has he done the move a little bit too early? As Ted now in the slipstream can pull over to the right hand side of the track, which is the inside line for turn 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? It's Ted. Was it too late? Because Dan's going to try the switchback move, a classic move which he's been pulling off all race. Positions his car beautifully ahead of Ted and up into the third place, which is effectively second on the racetrack. Aston is yet to make a pit stop. Let's change actually spectator cam to the variable one for a little bit of change of scenery here at Tokyo. Not being on a keyboard, it's not as such of a smooth transition. Let's have a look further down. Kyler still battling with ND for 6th place, although the gap is about a second between the two. Our closest battle is the battle for 3rd place. For 3rd place on the track. 2nd place when everyone makes their pit stops. Does Wolfie come into the pits at the end of this lap? I would imagine he will, considering the lack of fuel he has in this Alfa Romeo. Does so, pull into the pits. What about Aston? I'm assuming he's going to be into the pits as well, currently running in 2nd place. Hello to everyone in the chat. We are currently streaming the Group B race. Fortunately, I couldn't make it. M25 traffic. Aston actually ran out of fuel. Why has it gone back to this cam? There we go. I did not do that, I promise. But here goes Ted now in the slipstream of the Scout Dan. These two will be promoted an extra position as Aston is into the pits. He's actually going to come out of the pitch just ahead of these two, but with the momentum, here goes the scout down. Ted, they're going to go temporarily through wide, but due to Aston's lack of momentum after coming out of the pitch, we'll have to drop down to 4th place and watch these two go wheel to wheel in towards turn 1. It's Ted on the right-hand side of the screen, right-hand side of the track, which is the inside line for turn 1. Late on the brakes, all Aston can do is watch going in towards turn 1. Ted positioning his car so that Aston can't, can't get the switchback. Ted now is up into 2nd place, down there running in a wonderful 3rd position. It is a podium. He's now trying to challenge Ted. Ted though defends the inside line and maintains 2nd place. I'm sure this battle though will ensue until the final lap, maybe even the final second. We'll just have to wait and see. Moves can be made if you're within 5/10 of the car behind from the final corner to the start finish line even, let alone turn 1. Wolfie though has got the lead of this race by about 8, maybe 10 seconds to the cars behind Ted running in 2nd place, with the Scout Dan closely behind 2 Peugeots battling for 2nd place, deciding which order the podium is going to be finished on today, unless Aston can have any implications on this one. Aston actually double stinting the intermediates as well, opting for 3rd gear through the penultimate corner. Ted actually going for 2nd gear, giving him the turn in, but also giving him a little bit less grip going through the final corner. Here we go then for the 21st time. We're about to start this for the 27th. Someone's gone off though in the middle sector. That is Kyler Love, who has got front bumper and suspension damage through the 3rd sector. I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't have the replay camera, unfortunately. This is actually a replay, but I can't use the keyboard and I don't want to mess it up and go back to the start of the race. Here goes the Scout down with the slipstream, pulls up alongside and ahead of Ted in the Peugeot. But not going to keep it for much longer, because Ted's going to tack into the back of the slipstream and go alongside the Scout down in the run down towards turn 1. Up the hill they go before evening out. A little kink of a left-hander before the heavy braking zone in towards turn 1. Ted later on the brakes and maintains 2nd position. Aston, I'm sure, will be looking at this battle and hoping that he can join the party in the next few laps. Down though with a good exit off the exit of turn 1 and 2. Is he going to challenge for a move? Ted parks his car in the middle of the track. Isn't going to be able to, well, can't find a way through. The Irish driver is an Irish 1-2 as things stand. We've only got 5 laps to go. Dan still has a 1 second time penalty, which he will need to serve by the end of the race. He is to stay in 3rd place or even finish in 2nd if he closes the gap and overtakes Ted MC. But overtaking Ted is not the easiest thing to do. Thank you for those viewers who are still watching and who have been there from the start of the race. We're about to finish. Well, we're about halfway through lap 22. About to start lap 23 with your race leader and championship leader. And as it stands, Wolfie will win the championship. If we go then round the final corner, which leads on to a 1.24 mile long straight of this 4.4 or 4.2 mile long circuit. 16 corners it has, and well, it takes a little bit of time to get towards turn 1. Ted though doesn't bother defending the position because he knows he can re-overtake the Scout Dan, who gets the move done going over the start finish line to start lap 23 of 26. But it's Ted's going to fight this one back in the run down towards turn 1, pulls up alongside his fellow Peugeot driver, and will try and go for it in towards turn 1. He is ahead. Actually, the Scout Dan using the opportunity to serve some of his time penalty. He served 2 tenths down at turn 1, make that 4 tenths as he now only has 6 tenths left to serve. The slowdown penalties being awarded for corner cutting and barrier collisions, meaning you have to slow down for the designated time. Penalty gates, being used in events such as the Nations Cup, which I wish could be used in lobbies, because that would be a fairer and stricter way of making drivers not want to cut the corners. Obviously they cut corners unintentionally to try and push the car to its maximum ability and find the maximum amount of time on the track, but can sometimes be abused, especially at tracks like Austria, where you can serve about 8/10 down at the braking zone of turn 3 penalty gates. I wish it could be implemented into lobbies, makes it stricter for picking up time penalties. Wolfie rounds the final corner to start lap 24, or will be starting lap 24 of 26, almost at the end of this race. Kyler Love stays out with the bumper damage. Let's go back down to this battle for second place. Ted has just gapped down ever so slightly. Might be enough to help him keep second place in this race so far. But going down the long start finish straight does definitely promote a lot of overtaking, but none as of yet on this lap. Down serving his time penalty, and the run down towards turn 1 has got rid of all 6/10 and now will hunt down the your current second place man in both the championship and the race. Try and finish higher down third. A podium. Well, Dan's finished on the podium 3 times this season, I believe, and the only 3 times he's finished on the podium in his GT Sports career at Gavra Racing, and we'll be looking to make it a 4th time. Apologies about the PlayStation notification. You may have heard. I should probably turn off my phone, but we've not got long left to go until the end of this race. About to start lap 25 of 26, the penultimate lap of the race. Ted is still ahead of the Scout down for now, but Aston is actually gaining on these top, the 2 cars ahead of him. This could be a 3-way fight for second place as we start lap 25 of 26. And it is Ted running in second place, just ahead of the Scout down, just ahead of Aston F1 as well, who we're looking to try and maybe knock down off a podium. We'll just have to wait and see. Ted, though, with a 1.5 second advantage, you'd think. I think that's about 1.5 seconds. It looks like he's in a position to claim second place. We'll have to wait and see, though. It's important for him not to make any mistakes on the final lap and a half. It looks like, I think, Wolfie still has the fastest lap of the race, and we'll get an extra point at the end. starting the final lap. Let's remove... Should we remove everything? Let's remove everything for this final lap here at Tokyo Expressway. It's going to be Wolfie who leads the field for the final time in the wet. The Scout Dan has gained on the back of Ted on this final lap, but is it going to be enough for him to claim second place in the race? We'll have to wait and see. Two Peugeot drivers fighting for pretty much the majority of this race. Now going head to toe on the final lap. You can't see the cars going up the hill. There we go. There's Ted's Peugeot going in towards turn 1. Has about a 1 second lead of the Scout Dan behind going in towards turn 1. He has made the corner. No mistakes, but the Scout Dan is pushing so much to try and finish higher than third place this race. I think his highest finish this season, it has been third. We'll be looking to try and make it a second place finish here tonight. Dan, I'm sure, can correct me if I'm wrong. As it stands though, Wolfie is going to lead and win the Drivers' Championship here tonight after Tokyo Expressway. We'll have to wait and see who's going to finish this race in second place, though it's so close between Dan and Ted. The gap is about 7-9 of a second, I'd imagine. Ted just needs to keep it in a straight line, keep it clean, keep it consistent for the final time this lap. I'm keeping an eye on where Wolfie is on the track as well, because he will win the championship as things stand, unless he leaves. But look how much time Dan's gained through the middle sector. Look how much time Dan is gaining on Ted through this technical S's section. He's now in the slipstream to go for a move down the start-finish straight. Wolfie's rounding the final corner for the final time here tonight in Tokyo Expressway. Thank you to everyone who's watching, because things are about to get dramatic. Ted goes defensive to the final corner, but I'm going to pan up just to see Wolfie's what he's doing. Ted defending the inside line around the penultimate final corner. He's drifting. He's lost the rear through the final corner, but Wolfie's going to approach the line. Wolfie's going to win the Drivers' Championship here in Tokyo Expressway on the final lap for the final time. Ted and Dan are going to go side by side. There's contact between the two. Ted drops down to third place, but was that crucial enough? They're two squabbling for second place up to the line. Wolfie wins the race here in Tokyo and wins the Drivers' Championship. Ted's almost pushed into the pit lane, and the Scout Dan narrowly gets second place. It's a photo finish across the line, but the Scout Dan narrowly coming out on top ahead of Ted MC. Aston finishing in 4th place. Websons is going to finish in 6th, but it is Wolfie 907 who wins the race here in Tokyo Expressway. Round 12 of 15, and wins the Drivers' Championship. Huge congrats to him. Andy's going to finish in 6th place. Looks like Kyler's going to finish in 7th, and Melek Sandils in 8th place. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Wolfie's going to be here, but he spoke to me yesterday saying he dedicates this win and he dedicates this championship to his parents. Huge congrats to Wolfie. It's been a dominant season for him, and what a way to end it. Kyler drifting, donutting, crashing across the line, and Melek Sandils is going to finish in 8th place, but will still be scoring points nevertheless. I am just going to stop it right here, just so we don't cut off onto the main menu where I still have my music on. But yeah, what a race. There is your finishing order on the left hand side. We're not going to get to the podium and the celebrations as we would, because it is a race replay, but huge congrats once again to Wolfie, who wins the championship. Dan finishing in a stunning 2nd place finish, just getting ahead of Ted at the end, his highest finish of the season, finishing in 2nd place. Aston in 3rd, Websons in 5th, ND in 6th, Kyler in 7th, Melek Sandils in 8th place. But that's going to bring an end to round 12 here at Tokyo Expressway. Hope you enjoyed. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on Twitch, and join the Discord channel if you're interested in racing or chatting to any of the drivers. But that's going to bring an end. Make sure to stay tuned next week for both Group A and Group B races at Spa for the 3rd and final sprint concept of the season. I hope you enjoyed. We still have the constructors to finish in Group A. But for me, it's goodbye.